the song with your heart. Play the song with your heart.
And one time.
Bucks, the Milwaukee Bucks. We go on NBA real quick. Wow. Yesterday's news. The Milwaukee Bucks let go of head coach Adrian Griffin. Now, if you don't know, the Milwaukee Bucks are currently in the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. And they decided to part ways with their head coach. And it's official. They just signed Doc Rivers. So Doc Rivers is the new coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. So they went from Mike Budenholzer, who won them a championship, who's been to conference finals, to Doc Rivers, who's been a perennial playoff choker since his days with the Celtics. So I don't know if that's a good thing. But it is what it is. Just your reaction to the news.
I was confused because I thought like a scandal or something happened. That's why he got fired. But they just didn't like the guy, which is whatever. Like you, Giannis, didn't you literally in like help with the hiring process or whatever? But here's what I got to say. How many times are these teams going to fall for the Doc Rivers scam? Like, it's ridiculous. This guy shouldn't even. He was on the couch, not coaching anybody. Even the Detroit Pistons didn't want him. They'd rather get Monty Williams, who couldn't even win with the Suns.
Mm-hmm.
And he's stinking up the joint. So I don't know. This is a silly move. Booking, locking the future bet for the Bucks getting bounced in the second round because Doc Rivers ain't the guy. We've seen this story so many times, and it's the same thing every single year. So I can't. I don't know what they thinking with this.
I will say though, Giannis, Dame, that's a pretty damn good duo. That's better than Embiid and a falling off James Harden. I'm just
Is
saying.
Doc Rivers gonna make them play defense?
It's possible. They played defense in Philly last year.
Well, that's because like Budenholzer actually won. Actually, you mean. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You said
Doc.
the Sixers
Yeah.
played defense.
They
Okay.
played defense last year.
Mhm. But I mean, they had James Harden. He don't play no defense, so I guess they could make it work. But
Well,
yeah, I just thought
yeah.
it was a bizarre. I was shocked. I was in the line at Panda Express, and I was like, "What?" I saw the group chat was like, "Who got fired?" And then I was like, "The Bucks coach." I said, "Okay."
There was rumblings. There was before the season started, there was already a bit of friction going
Yeah,
with the head
little
coaching.
smoke.
Yeah, a little smoke. But where there's smoke, there's fire. And
Yep.
it started to build up after the season tournament. I've read the article from Bleacher Report. It's very short, but I read it, and pretty much it didn't really go to too much detail, like in terms of ultimately what was the reason why he got fired. It was pretty much, I think the biggest thing was they had a meeting with the core players of the Bucks, and
Uh-huh.
Adrian Griffin, you know, I think it was Middleton and those other guys. They were talking about exactly, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what we need to do. Yada yada yada. And Adrian Griffin was like, "Yo, y'all got to sacrifice. Y'all got to sacrifice." And it's weird because then later on in the article it said the players respected it or something like that. They were okay with it pretty much. But then I believe it was during I think it was practice where I think it may have been the GM or some front office person was just, you know how front GM specifically, they go to practice. They always
Mhm.
examine sort of how the practice is going. And I think it may have been the GM or front office person was there, and they were just looking at the vibes of just the team and everything. And they just, if they felt like the vibes is off,
Huh.
felt like the players weren't really respecting the
Locked
coach.
in.
I think Terry Stotts. I think there was something going on with Terry Stotts and Adrian Griffin that I heard
Oh,
of. So the vibes was like really off, and I think the front office eventually just thought that, you know what, let's pull the
just
plug
cut her
on this.
losses. Yeah.
Yeah, this team is too talented, and they're not. When we're trying to win a championship, we're not just trying to make the
Well, they hired
playoffs.
the wrong coach for that one.
And see, Giannis, they could have hired Nick Nurse,
But
but they
Giannis
went.
didn't want to play for him for
Giannis didn't want to
whatever
play for
reason.
him. Because I believe one of the things is that Nick Nurse's reputation. He probably heard players from around the league that played for him that are playing for him right now. They probably didn't like a certain approach about him.
Um,
And I think after he left, I think maybe Scotty Barnes,
Ibaka was in his ear.
maybe Scotty Barnes, maybe a few players. I think it may have been Scotty Barnes who sort of I don't know if it was an interview or something like that. He made a comment or something, and people were like sort of speculating about, was he taking shots at Nick Nurse and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So it could be his coaching approach that Giannis wasn't really feeling. I know
Okay.
Nick Nurse. I know he plays his players a lot, his
Yeah.
starters a lot. So maybe that could be part of it. Uh, maybe he just coaches way too. He's too intense of a coach. Maybe that could be part of it. Who knows? But ultimately, he did win a championship. He has owned Giannis in the past. Like every time the Bucks played the Raptors with the Nick Nurse coach team, Giannis had like career lows. Like he didn't play particularly well. The defense was always elite with the Raptors, even in their down years. So I thought it would have been a perfect hire, but I guess Giannis just wasn't feeling it. Um, I remember Jimmy Butler made a comment about Adrian Griffin. He was like, I think he may have said something to Grim like he doesn't mess with Adrian Griffin.
Hmm.
I thought he was just joking around or something. The way he was came across, I thought he was just joking around. I think he may have was a coach in Chicago when Jimmy Butler was
Oh,
playing,
okay.
but I thought he was just joking around and all this other stuff. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was just like, yo, I don't really like dudes like that. He not really a good coach. So yeah, it was just a messy situation. I could see the defense wasn't living up to par for the Milwaukee Bucks. Part of that you could say, well, you don't have the same personnel that you did from last year with Drew Holiday. You have Damian Lillard as your starting guard. He's not a two-way player. But to be this bad and for the offense to be this inconsistent with the players that you have at your disposal, it's one of those things. It reminds me of David Blatt and LeBron, where
Hmm.
LeBron, you talk about the LaCoach. This is where it really started with LaCoach. It was the first year in Cleveland, well, back in Cleveland with David Blatt. He was really the coach. He was really the guy that was dictating everything. And David Blatt, he was just on the sideline chilling. And that's really what it was. And that's just what it reminds me of. And Doc Rivers being the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, it's just they needed to find the best coach available, and he was the best coach on the market, and he capitalized on it. He was very smart in what he did, and now he
But
has.
didn't they say that he was advising Adrian Griffin?
Yup, he was. He was giving him advice, which is kind of a snake move.
Slimed him out, gave him the wrong answers to the test.
It was kind of a snake move. I mean, I remember. Hold on, I remember. I don't know if it was Gilbert Arenas' podcast or what, but I remember somebody who may have used to play for Doc talk about how Doc he he would do some of these things where he was kind of a snake. Like I remember Tyronn Lue. I remember Tyronn Lue's situation where I think Tyronn Lue before he went to the Clippers, he was potentially going to go to the 76ers, right?
Hmm.
But I think Doc may have did something where Tyronn Lue ultimately couldn't get the job with the 76ers. Like I remember it was some snake stuff. Like he would do some slick stuff that you like, okay, he's looking out for himself most of the time, and he's trying to be cool with you, but at the end of the day, he's looking out for himself. But I remember I forget who it was, but I don't know if it was on Gilbert's podcast or if it was on another podcast, but they were talking about just some snake stuff that he did for for Tyronn Lue, and yeah, man, just remembering that and then seeing what happened with Adrian Griffin. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Like, yeah, that's what happens, and yeah, I don't. I'll say this though, the Milwaukee Bucks, they're fortunate that Joe Mazzulla isn't the greatest coach in the world. Like Joe Mazzulla, this is the coach for the Celtics.
Yeah.
He's not that great either. Like he has his problems as well. It's not like you're going up against an elite level head coach like Tyronn Lue or who
Spo.
else? Spo, right? Well, they kind of are. They
Well,
are.
yeah.
They kind of are, but you get what I'm saying. Like the top team, their
Got
coach
you.
is questionable as well. Like he can be had. Like game 7 when with the 76ers, you could say that a lot of that was on
The players.
Embiid and Harden just choking and not getting it done. So it's a possibility. I just think that overall, if they can't get this defense together, they're not winning.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you hire. It's really that simple. So, it's just a weird situation. That's all I have to say. It's a weird situation. Gilbert Arenas and all them other guys, Kenya Martin on the Gilbert Arena, they said that it was probably nothing to do with basketball and just them not liking each other because they're the second seed. So, yeah. How do you feel about, like, I know you talked about it a little bit, but in terms of Giannis, like his image after what transpired, because he was the one that sort of campaigned for Adrian Griffin to come to the squad, right? But then he gets fired mid-season.
Well, either he realized the grass ain't that greener, or this was a front office decision and not really. They either didn't console Giannis really about it, or he just realized he wasn't the guy he thought he was. That's what I think.
I doubt.
But so far the see, I can't make a pun like lay GM like for Giannis because he doesn't have nothing. The Giannis team building decision experiment isn't going too well so far.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as far as coaching goes.
Well, I mean, we know that he has a lot of power because his brother is on the squad. That's just, and let's be
The real reason
real.
he got fired because he told the Nazis that they was going to cut him.
Like let's be real. Like the fact that his brother is on the squad, on the team, lets us know that how much power he has. He has a lot of power, and there's no way that this organization would fire a coach without going to Giannis first and asking him, is it okay if we fire him, if we let him go? I believe this was a lot to do with Giannis, a lot to do with the core players not really vibing with Adrian Griffin. I don't know if Giannis went up to upper management and tell them. I don't think so. I think at the end of the day, the front office saw that the players are not vibing with Adrian Griffin. They probably went up to Giannis and said, hey, is it okay? He probably gave them the green light. And that was that. I think that's what it was all about. And yeah, he screwed up. If this was LeBron, we would be going crazy. There'd be a lot of memes about it. But it is what it, LeBron has different sort of haters than Giannis, a different level, especially you. If this was LeBron, you would be going absolutely berserk right now. But it is what it is. Man.
It would just be the status quo if it was LeBron.
All right, well, whatever. Anywho,
Look, cold world, still a cold world, and a couple y'all is cool, but we a little more thorough. Whole time, a little more girls. You know I spit that injection and it's still no cure. Hold up, loud packs